A $3.7 billion Las Vegas mega casino promised Miami-style luxury and opened to global fanfare, but now sits nearly empty. Dealers waiting, tables untouched, and TikTok videos capturing a ghost town where gamblers once dreamed. The Fontainebleau CEO just admitted the plan was to keep out the Riff Raff, and now the only thing excluded is a crowd. How did the city built on access end up with a palace nobody wants to enter? The answer starts at the heart of Vegas tradition, and the stakes reach far beyond the Strip. In 1954, a new hotel rose above the Miami shoreline, its sweeping curves and neon signs spelling out a single word: Fontainebleau. The building became a symbol of American glamour almost overnight. Frank Sinatra crooned in the lobby, Elvis Presley lounged by the pool, the Rat Pack made it their playground, and the hotel's marble halls echoed with the laughter of movie stars and moguls. Miami's Fontainebleau didn't just promise luxury, it made luxury feel possible for anyone with a suitcase and a dream. Its blue and white towers stood for a new kind of American fantasy: sophistication without a secret password, elegance that welcomed you in. That spirit traveled far. Fontainebleau's name became shorthand for the good life: champagne, showgirls, and the promise that, for a weekend at least, the velvet rope would lift. The resort's advertising leaned into this image, selling not just rooms, but a taste of the extraordinary. Postcards from the era show a world of white tuxedos, cocktail glasses, and sunlit pool decks, all set against the backdrop of Miami's endless summer. The message was clear: you didn't have to be born rich to belong here. When plans for Fontainebleau Las Vegas finally moved from rumor to reality, the pitch was simple: bring the Miami legend to the desert, and with it, a new standard of sophistication for the Strip. The developers promised to recapture the magic that made the original a legend. Slogans like "the return of an icon" and "Miami's timeless elegance now in Las Vegas" filled billboards, hinting that the golden age could live again. The property would tower 67 stories above the city, with 3,700 rooms, a casino the size of a small stadium, and restaurants designed by celebrity chefs. For many, the opening of Fontainebleau Las Vegas felt like a homecoming. The city had always thrived on reinvention, but it also remembered its roots, places where ordinary people could rub shoulders with the stars. The Fontainebleau name carried a promise that everyone, from high roller to honeymooner, could step into a world of glamour. The dream was not just about marble and chandeliers, but about belonging, about being part of a story bigger than yourself. That promise would soon be tested in ways no one expected. Las Vegas didn't earn its reputation as America's playground by keeping people out. The city's genius was in turning fantasy into something anyone could buy, if only for a night. For decades, casinos lined the Strip with neon promises: steak dinners for $4.99, prime rib buffets that stretched for yards, and tables where a few dollars could keep you in the game. The logic was simple: bring in as many people as possible, treat them all like high rollers, and trust that the crowd would do the rest. Every slot machine, every blackjack table, every cheap meal was a small invitation. Come in, stay a while, and maybe get lucky. This wasn't just hospitality. It was a carefully engineered profit engine. Casino executives knew that the real money wasn't in squeezing each guest for maximum dollars at the door, but in creating an atmosphere so welcoming, so electric, that people would spend freely just to be part of it. The so-called loss leaders, those bargain buffets, free drinks for players, and low-limit tables, weren't mistakes. They were the foundation. They filled the rooms, kept the lights bright, and made the casino floor hum with energy. On the Strip, the numbers tell the story. On average, 30 to 40% of a property's revenue came from gaming. The rest flowed in from restaurants, shows, and hotel rooms. Profits made possible only because the casino floor was packed. Even the most luxurious resorts, places like Bellagio and Wynn, understood this equation. They offered $5 slots and $10 blackjack right alongside private salons for the truly wealthy. The message was clear. Luxury was for everyone, not just the few. The crowd was the point. The democratic chaos of Vegas, the mix of tourists, retirees, bachelorette parties, and conventioneers, created an energy that no velvet rope could replicate. Crowd psychology became the city's secret weapon. People are drawn to excitement, to the sound of chips clattering, to the sight of a lucky streak at a crowded craps table. The more people who felt welcome, the more they spent. Not just on gambling, but on everything else. The cheap buffet wasn't just about food. It was about making everyone feel like a winner, even before the first card was dealt. In this system, exclusion was bad for business. The volume model didn't just fill casino floors. It made Las Vegas a ritual for the American middle class, a shared fantasy that anyone could afford. This was the deal that built the Strip. Give the masses a taste of the good life, and they'll pay for the privilege over and over again. Fontainebleau's promise to recapture the magic of old Miami made sense in this context. But the city's success was never about keeping people out. It was about letting everyone in. At Fontainebleau Las Vegas, the price of entry became a gauntlet. The first hurdle stands at the gaming tables. Blackjack minimums began at $50 on the main floor, with baccarat demanding $100 just to buy in. A full 5 to 10 times higher than the average strip casino, where $10 or $15 is still the norm. Even roulette, the classic game for casual players, carried a $25 minimum. For anyone used to stretching a $100 bill over an evening, the message was immediate. This floor is not for you. The barriers didn't stop at the felt. Room rates started at $400 on a weekday, climbing to $700 or more for weekends. Suites, the kind that once lured honeymooners and convention goers, often listed for over $1,000 per night. Each booking carried a $55 resort fee, among the highest in Las Vegas, tacked on regardless of how much you spent elsewhere on property. For comparison, most strip casinos kept these fees between $35 and $45, and even luxury competitors like Wynn and Resorts World offered rooms at $150 to $300 on many dates. Parking, once a basic courtesy in Las Vegas, became another toll. Self-parking cost $25 per day, while valet service reached $35, even for registered guests. The only way to avoid these charges was to reach top-tier status in the Fontainebleau loyalty program, itself a reward for heavy spending. For many, the cost of simply walking through the door and setting down luggage exceeded what a night's stay would cost at a mid-tier property just down the street. Dining and drinks followed the same pattern. Cocktails at the lobby bar ran $30 to $40 each, making a round for four a triple-digit affair before tip. Lunch entrees in casual restaurants started at $25, while dinner in the signature venues easily topped $60 per plate. Bottle service in the nightclubs soared past $250. For guests hoping for a classic Vegas buffet, there was none. Fontainebleau skipped the mass market staple entirely, opting instead for celebrity chef concepts with reservation lists and minimum spends. Access to amenities was also tightly controlled. The pool, spa, and gym were reserved for registered hotel guests, with day passes available only at a steep price and often restricted to midweek. Some restaurants and lounges prioritized reservations for suite guests or high-spending gamblers, leaving walk-ins to wait or look elsewhere. Even the loyalty program offered little to casual players. Entry-level benefits were limited, with few comps or incentives for those who weren't already spending big. Every detail, from the table minimums to the parking fees, sent the same signal. Fontainebleau's policies didn't just raise the bar, they turned it into a wall. For the average visitor, the cost of entry was no longer a splurge, but a deal breaker. The casino's pricing wasn't an accident or a misprint. It was the business model, written in neon and marble, and enforced at every turn. Jeffrey Soffer didn't need to stand behind a microphone and declare who was unwelcome. The message was already woven into every decision, every investor pitch, every line of copy promising a curated elite environment. Fontainebleau's leadership spoke in the language of aspiration, premium guests, refined experiences, the discerning traveler. But those words landed with the weight of a velvet rope. The doctrine was clear: Fontainebleau would not compete for the masses. It would rise above them. In private briefings and glossy investor decks, executives described a vision built on exclusivity. The goal wasn't to fill every room or seat every table, but to attract only those who could afford to ignore the price tags. One slide, circulated among potential partners, boasted of differentiating from the mass market and eschewing the comp-driven model that defined the old Vegas. The property would not chase bus tours or offer cheap perks. Instead, it would cultivate an atmosphere of distinction, a phrase repeated in earnings calls and marketing meetings alike. Soffer himself, in interviews and press releases, outlined the strategy in polished terms. "We're not trying to be everything to everybody. Fontainebleau is for the guest who wants and is willing to pay for the very best." The intent was unmistakable. Fontainebleau wasn't interested in being the next stop for a group of friends splitting a room, or for retirees hoping to stretch their bankroll at a low-limit table. The resort would be a sanctuary for those who already belong to the world of private jets and black cards. The internet, never shy about finding a villain, latched onto the phrase, "no more Riff Raff." It spread in TikTok clips and casino forums, a meme that captured the public's sense of being shut out. Whether or not those exact words ever left Soffer's lips, the sentiment stuck. Dealers joked about it in break rooms. Guests repeated it with a mix of disbelief and resignation. The meme outpaced any official statement, fueled by the unmistakable feeling that Fontainebleau's doors were meant to keep most people out. Investor language painted this as a bold bet. The property would reimagine Las Vegas luxury by refusing to chase volume. Yet this stance, so confidently presented to shareholders, ignored the basic math of the Strip, the energy that comes only from crowds, the profits that depend on a steady churn of hopefuls and dreamers. Fontainebleau's leadership believed they could rewrite the rules by sheer force of exclusivity. Their doctrine wasn't just about raising prices. It was about drawing a line and daring the city's tradition to cross it. Occupancy numbers tell the story more bluntly than any executive statement. In the first year after opening, Fontainebleau Las Vegas averaged just 60 to 65% occupancy, far below the Strip's typical 78 to 83%. Analysts tracking the property describe a hotel that rarely fills more than 2/3 of its rooms, even on weekends when competitors push close to full capacity. The numbers are not isolated. They reflect a steady pattern, confirmed by internal booking data and industry sources. Gaming revenue paints an even starker picture. While the Nevada Gaming Control Board does not publish property-level figures for Fontainebleau, industry reports estimate gaming revenue is running about 40% below the projections circulated before opening. Table utilization rates hover at 30 to 40% on weekends, with many pits closed or sparsely staffed during the week. Dealers, hired with the promise of busy floors, now spend hours watching empty felt. Discounted room rates and waived fees have become the rule, not the exception. By the fall of 2025, weekday rooms advertised for $125, including locals rates and resort fee waivers, stand in sharp contrast to the $400+ opening prices. Promotions aimed at Nevada residents and aggressive dining credits signal urgent efforts to fill the void. Staff cuts have followed the data. Up to 60 table game dealers were let go by May 2025, a move that became public as analysts flagged the property's inability to generate enough demand to justify its workforce. Industry experts reviewing the available data see a property caught in a spiral. Low occupancy leads to fewer guests on the floor, which depresses gaming revenue, triggering further cuts and deeper discounts. The math is relentless, and the gulf between Fontainebleau's ambitions and its actual performance grows wider with every quarterly report. Behind the empty casino floors, the story turns personal. Dealers who left steady jobs elsewhere for Fontainebleau's promise now find themselves staring at silent tables, their shifts cut with little warning. One dealer, hired in January, lost 7 scheduled shifts in April before being told not to come back at all. The excitement of working at a premier property has faded into anxiety, with many scrambling to find new positions as the reality of layoffs sets in. By May 2025, about 60 table game dealers were let go in a single round, some notified by phone that their services were no longer needed. No notice, no severance, just a closed door. It isn't only the dealers. Bartenders and servers, drawn by the prospect of overflowing crowds, now report being scheduled and then sent home after an hour, sometimes losing over $1,000 a month in tips. The ripple spreads beyond the casino walls. On Convention Center Drive, a souvenir shop owner who stocked up for Fontainebleau's opening now faces a 20% drop in foot traffic compared to last year. Local coffee shops, hoping for a steady stream of guests, have cut staff hours instead. The optimism that followed the property's debut has soured into regret and worry. Investors too feel the strain. With Fontainebleau Development and Koch Real Estate holding the debt, rumors of financial restructuring and covenant stress swirl behind closed doors. For workers, small businesses, and backers alike, the fallout from Fontainebleau's gamble is measured not just in lost dollars, but in broken expectations and a sense of being left behind. Fontainebleau Las Vegas opened its $3.7 billion doors in December 2023, promising a new era of luxury. But with occupancy rates stuck at 60 to 65% and gaming revenue reportedly 40% below projections, the strategy of high prices and exclusivity has left the casino floor empty. Management's own statements confirm the deliberate pursuit of premium clientele, with table minimums and resort fees set well above industry norms. Yet, the evidence shows that excluding the traditional Las Vegas visitor has not attracted the elite crowd, nor filled the property's 3,700 rooms. The full financial impact remains unclear, as Fontainebleau's parent company has not released detailed performance data. What is clear is that workers, local businesses, and investors are now bearing the cost of this experiment. As of now, no major strategic shift has been announced. The Fontainebleau case stands as a factual warning. In Las Vegas, chasing prestige at the expense of accessibility carries real and measurable risks.